Coming to the pathology, Codevilla was the first to recognize that the periosteum in CPT is diseased. Other authors have also described a thickened, adherent periosteum that constricted the tibia and the fibula, causing atrophy and leading to fracture and pseudoarthrosis. This thickened fibrous tissue at the pseudoarthrosis site is a hamartoma. The fact that this fibrous constriction site is universally present has suggested to some investigators that the primary pathological lesion is in the periosteal structures around the tibia rather than the bone itself. Excision of the hamartomatous fibrous tissue around the pseudoarthrosis site at the time of surgical treatment is therefore usually emphasized. There is also a paucity of vascular ingrowth around the pseudoarthrosis site. Researchers from China have shown that there is an abnormal expression of type 3 collagen in the periosteum, which is distinctly different from the type 1 collagen of the normal periosteum. It is also noticed that the hamartoma cells do not differentiate into osteoblasts in response to bone morphogenic protein, and they are more osteoclastogenic than osteoblastic in nature. So, from a pathological viewpoint, in order to optimize the outcomes in the treatment of congenital pseudoarthrosis of tibia, there are two important concepts. The first concept is the removal of the abnormal tissue, which is the hamartoma, and the second concept is the reversal of the pathogenic process, which is to make the osteoblastic activity more than the osteoclastic activity. So, we need to reduce the bone resorption and enhance the bone repair. The natural history of congenital pseudoarthrosis of tibia can be divided into primary and secondary causes. The anterolateral bowing is the primary deformity associated with congenital pseudoarthrosis of tibia. As this bowing progresses, the tibia and or the fibula will eventually break. Fracture of the tibia leads to instability and loss of integrity of the primary weight-bearing bone of the lower leg. Fracture of the fibula leads to proximal migration of the distal fibula and valgus of the ankle joint. Therefore, the primary problems in CPT are the anterolateral bowing, the non-healing fracture site or the pseudoarthrosis, and the proximal migration of the fibula. As a consequence of these three primary conditions, a myriad of secondary deformities develop. Most of these secondary conditions are due to the effect of primary conditions on the surrounding soft tissues and joints, and the secondary effects on growth and development of the lower limb. The anterolateral bowing relaxes the posterior muscles, leading to decreased tension on the Achilles tendon. This leads to atrophy and thinning of the calf muscle, and eventually to a calcaneocavus deformity of the foot. The anterolateral bowing relaxes the posterior muscles, leading to a decrease in the tension of the Achilles tendon. This leads to atrophy and thinning of the calf muscles, and eventually into a calcaneocavus deformity. The anterior bow of the tibia causes the foot to assume a dorsiflex position. The anterior muscles and capsules are never stretched into equinus. This leads to a dorsiflexion contracture of the ankle and a calcaneus deformity of the foot. The calcaneocavus deformity of the foot results in a clinical pistol grip heel. The proximal migration of the fibula causes the talus to follow the fibula. This leads to a lateral subluxation of the ankle joint, valgus wedging of the distal tibial epiphysis, and instability of the ankle. The ankle valgus serves to compensate for the varus diaphyseal deformity which is seen in congenital pseudoarthrosis of tibia. Due to the non-healing fracture or the pseudoarthrosis, the lack of loading on the tibia and the altered muscle forces as well as the proximity of the pseudoarthrosis to the distal tibial physis leads to slowing of growth of the distal tibia and fibular physis and limb length discrepancy. In response to the altered forces on the lower limb, the proximal femur responds by overgrowing into a coxa valga deformity. This overgrowth, despite of the undergrowth of the tibia, makes CPT one of the few conditions where the growth inhibition of the tibia is compensated by overgrowth in the femur. In some cases, the coxa valga can be so extreme that it leads to a hip dysplasia and eventually to a subluxation or a dislocation of the hip. The limb length discrepancy, foot, ankle, and knee problems, the femur and hip deformities are all secondary problems associated with congenital pseudoarthrosis of tibia. These secondary problems can be prevented by successfully treating the primary problems of union and angulation. Therefore, the primary objectives in the treatment of this condition are to straighten the anterolateral bow, to obtain and maintain the union at the fracture site, and to obtain union at the fibular site to prevent the proximal fibular migration.